Hi, YouTube. With us. What the creepy. Ooh, and we'll get to that in a second. Here. Yep. Good to go. Beautiful. All right, look at just in. Oh, dark in here too. All right. There we go. That's a little better. So just in, leaked documents from Anthropic show that a new generation of super strong models, Claude Mythos, is already in testing with Anthropic, believing it poses unprecedented cybersecurity risks. Oh, we're already there. Claude, as it is, poses unprecedented cybersecurity risks. We are already there, dude. Guess it's about to get worse. Oh joy. On the plus side, if you ever thought about a, secondary career as a hacker, you can do that now. Pretty much as easy as hooking a chatbot up to an old computer and pointing it at a website and saying, "Hey, that's my website. Go hack it for me." And I'm just security testing. Just go hack it. It'll do it. Just go do it. All you got to do. I'm not saying that you should go do that. In fact, I'm saying that you shouldn't, but you can. You can. The option's there. I'm not saying it's a good option. Yeah. That's about to get worse. All right, let me see if I tagged anything. Oh yeah, that loser. Not this guy. The other guy. Oh, and we gotta check this out. I haven't had a chance to watch this yet, so we are definitely gonna have to check that out. But this, look at this. Major breaking. A $15+ million DOE contractor and former CIA officer and No King's protest organizer with active nuclear security contracts is on camera recommending a color revolution how-to. Straight up.
Well, one is for a while, Soviet Union, not fascist, communist, but in all respects as authoritarian. Slobodan Milosevic in Serbia in the late 90s, which I do think is a great model for Americans to be looking at, where his apparently iron grip on power, using all the mechanisms that we're seeing President Trump use right now, were basically destroyed by an alliance, an unlikely alliance of students and unions and coal miners and even some of the police, old ladies in public housing, businessmen, all work together to accomplish that with almost no violence. It can happen. Stephanie, again, I think you mentioned the movie Bringing Down a Dictator previously. I haven't watched it yet, but plan to. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's around 55 minutes long. It's a documentary about the fall of Milosevic. It's sort of a how-to in some ways. It does end in a march on the Capitol building to keep a election going. So there's
What?
a certain amount of confusion there when you watch it, but it's inspiring.
A certain amount of confusion there because, you guys did the January 6th thing, and then you You hated on us for being the January 6th people, and then now you want to be the January 6th people.
It,
You would do the same thing.
it focuses on a group called Atpor, which
And it's weird. Now it's weird.
going. So there's a certain amount of confusion there when you
A certain amount of confusion.
watch it, but it's inspiring.
Because now all of a sudden it's inspiring and good to storm your capital.
It focuses on a group called Atpor, which was a student-run organization that galvanized the country along with others, but also put pressure on all of those strange bedfellows to get together and do something. It's also narrated by Martin Sheen. So
what the West Wing?
Fan, enjoy it.
Right from the start, the revolution consultants follow a specific strategy, a strategy developed by the Serbian organization Otpor. This organization mobilized millions of people to bring about the downfall of Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic. Their strategy became a blueprint.
One of the things.
Anyway, you get the point. CIA fag. Doing CIA things. Despite being retired from the CIA. All right, let's see. On to Miss Stiff's pile. Whee! Oh yeah, we definitely gonna have to get to this one. Glad you re-tagged me in that. Okie dokie. Hey, David. Cool. Senate has passed a bill to fund DHS and pay TSA agents in a last-minute deal. Oof. Just oh wow. People are getting antsy. Does not include ICE and CBP. Ooh. Okay. That needs reconciliation, which is only 50 plus 1 votes. Get it done ASAP.
TSA. The Senate passing a bill overnight to fund TSA and most of the Department of Homeland Security.
But the legislation excludes funding for ICE and most of CBP.
The Senate passing a
Oh. The House is going to have big problems moving the DHS funding bill today. Rules for the 119th Congress. Oh, thank you, honey. House Republicans handcuffed themselves, apparently. How did they do that? Way to go, guys. The majority cannot move bills under suspension of the rules on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. That seems a bit arbitrary. Right? No? Yeah? No? Weird. Hardline conservatives hate moving bills under suspension because it bypasses the rule vote where they have the most leverage. Okay. So Johnson can go to the Rules Committee where he can try to get a rule. No sure thing. If he does get one, he can try to pass a rule on the floor. No sure thing there either. Or he can wait till Monday where he can pass this on suspension. So we'll see. Okay. What this? Trump says he'll order DHS to start paying TSA officers as shutdown drags on. That's who. What is this? Oh, it's freedom.gov, huh? I thought it was going to be aliens.gov, but hey. Interesting. Like possibly a social media site. Weird. Yeah, it's got the pixelated branding. All the videos do. Information is power. Reclaim your right, your human right to free expression. Get ready. I'm ready. I mean, come on. Been waiting. Freaking years. Trying not to be censored on every damn platform out there, but hey. Guess I'm just special. Okay. Footage shows a massive blackout in SoCal, Orange County. After a power outage. Wow. That's pretty crazy. Yeah. Assume that's all supposed to be sparkling and lit up. Japanese yams. Yeah, dude. Like sweet potatoes, but better. Even better. Okay. 3,120 TSA officers have called out due to the shutdown.
Houston, 39% at
Oh, here's the numbers per airport.
3,100 plus officers, 28% at JFK, 29% at BWI. You go down the list, 31% at Houston, 39% at Houston's other airport, and 40% in Atlanta. Democrats look at this, though, and they say it is not their fault. 3,100 plus officers.
Didn't do nothing. 250 years of American history, 25 years since 9/11. Oh, 9/11. Speaking of, can't wait to see that Catherine Herridge thing.
You and I remember 9/11 vividly. Your dad was here. I was broadcasting that day.
It looks like something out of a movie. There is a huge...
Oh my God, look at him.
...of tower number 1.
It's...
My father was in the South Tower on 9/11. He was a first responder. He was a FDNY fire marshal and a warrant officer in the Army. Him and Battalion Chief Oriole Palmer made it to the 78th floor of the South Tower, which is actually where the plane had impacted the building that morning. And so radio transmissions confirm that him and Chief Palmer were providing first aid to the injured people and putting water on the fire when the tower collapsed.
Thousands didn't make it out, including people who went in to help save lives.
And you made a sacrifice because after your dad died, he'd been a Green Beret, and you quit your job and you went into the military and you became a Green Beret.
Yep.
And then you started a life of service.
Aww.
So the American flag, given service and sacrifice, has a very special place in his heart, and that was passed down to me and you know, my continued service to the country.
Of the new flags on display, is there one that has special meaning for you?
I think the one that jumps out the most is actually the fragment of the flag that was found at Ground Zero. As we reflect on the 250-year history of our country, I'm just forever grateful for people that have made that sacrifice for us.
Waltz on this loser show. What's his name? They weren't qualified to be here in Minnesota. They're not qualified to be at the airport, and they're dang sure not qualified to be anywhere near polling station. Okay.
For saying that, Chris. This is about normalizing. That's what they're trying to do. And they continue to test and they continue to push and then they back off and then they come again. It's about feeling normalized that this is what we have. Look, I think many of us got used to TSA after 9/11. That was something new in our airports. Many of us were used to seeing, you know, military-style police in airports in Europe and Asia. We weren't used to it in America. Now they're trying to do this same thing, like this is a normal thing. This is not normal. These guys aren't doing a damn thing. They weren't qualified to be here in Minnesota. They're not qualified to be at the airport, and they are dang sure not qualified to be anywhere near a polling station. But I
heard someone might catch those millions you're just dumping through the airport.
Would be
on the way to Somalia.
Absolutely shocked if he is not already making plans. I mean, Democratic states are seeing this assault. We have the most secure, fairest elections anywhere, and they're still coming for it.
Oh, boy.
For saying that, Chris.
Speaking of elections, Trump admin to face questions about seizure of Fulton County 2020 election records. Okay. Yeah.
We turn now to the recently unsealed affidavit behind the FBI raid on a Georgia election office, which is now raising concerns about the 2026 midterms. You see there, agents seized 700 boxes of ballots and other materials related to the 2020 election from Fulton County last month. The affidavit shows the investigation started with a referral from Kurt Olson, an attorney who played a pivotal role in President Trump's attempt to overturn the 2020 election. Let's bring in Center for Election Innovation and Research Executive Director David Becker for more. David, great to have you here this morning for us. Okay, so let's talk about this because this affidavit cites allegations that Fulton County failed to create a scanned image of each ballot. They also say that some were scanned multiple times and that some ballot counts were inconsistent. What do you make of that?
So we know what happened in Fulton County in 2020. This has been reviewed more than any election in Georgia and nationwide in world history. The state of Georgia and in Fulton County uses paper ballots completely. Those paper ballots were counted not once, not twice, but 3 times, 3 different ways, once entirely by hand, as the affidavit admits that there was no problem with the count. A lot of these administrative errors that might have occurred. It's not unusual that an election in which 160 million people vote in the middle of a pandemic might have some human errors, but the election system is resilient against those. The process is designed to make sure that despite errors, as we review and re-review and count and recount, that we get the right counts. And Georgia and Fulton County did that. That's been confirmed multiple times by dozens of courts, including by judges appointed by President Trump himself. And what we saw in this affidavit, I was actually expecting to see at least an attempt to put forward something new that hadn't been debunked years ago. But what we saw in this affidavit was just a rehashing of conspiracy theories that had been long debunked, brought by people who were not viewed as credible.
Oh, that's funny. Boy. I wonder how much longer you're going to be able to use that one, sir.
And others when they brought these complaints forward. We saw no allegation of intent to commit a federal crime, a necessary element. In fact, they conceded there was no intent. There was no allegation of an election theft. They conceded that the ballots were counted and the outcome was correct. There was no allegation of a foreign nexus or foreign interference, which of course raises questions about why the Director of National Intelligence was inside the facility during this raid. And finally, something I was...
Maybe, just thinking outside the box here, new information came forward.
Really looking for is there's a 5-year federal statute of limitations on any of these alleged crimes. And that statute has clearly run as the election was well beyond 5 years now. And I would have expected to see something in the affidavit that addressed the statute of limitations. And there was nothing in there whatsoever. Really unclear why a magistrate would have signed off on this. And I expect when we have an evidentiary hearing, as is scheduled on February 27th with a federal district court judge, that there are going to be a lot of questions that the government has to answer.
Yeah, especially the one on timing. You bring up a good point there. Also, the
yeah. Urgent investigation underway as a military helicopter apparently came dangerously close to a Boeing 737 passenger jet as it was landing near LA.
Alarmingly close call here in Southern California. This chopper got so close that it triggered the most serious anti-collision alert in the plane, and even air traffic control can be heard saying afterwards, that was not good.
Was not good.
The urgent investigation after a dangerous close call between a military helicopter and a packed 737 passenger jet landing near Los Angeles. Listen to the concern from air traffic controllers in the aftermath.
We're going to be addressing that because that was not good.
Authorities say a United Airlines flight with 168 passengers and crew on board was on final approach to John Wayne Airport when that helicopter crossed in front. The aircraft coming so close, it triggered the plane's anti-collision alert system. United says the jet pilot saw the chopper and after the alert, immediately leveled the aircraft to avoid it.
The alarm that the United jet got in its cockpit was the most serious alarm possible. So it told that United jet, you need to level off right now or you're going to hit that helicopter.
Air traffic control had warned the plane to be aware of traffic, but afterward asked what happened.
Did you get just a traffic call reference to helicopter, or did they restrict your altitude or anything?
And data from Flight Radar 24 shows when this happened, the plane and the chopper were only about a quarter mile apart when the plane leveled off. The FAA says they're now investigating. Whit.
All right. Yikes. Jeez, dude. Senate has left town after funding TSA and DHS, except for ICE and CBP.
One last
No SAVE Act either.
night, and typically no one wins government shutdowns. Democrats, they did not get some of the ICE reforms that they asked for. Republicans did not get full DHS funding in this. ICE is left out and Border Patrol is as well. Now, John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, he said that this was not about getting people necessarily to support the bill. His charge last night was really to make sure that there weren't objections when they moved this on the Senate floor about 2:12 this morning. There are only so many off-ramps in Congress, and lawmakers saw this one coming down the highway, and they did not want to miss that one. This is why the Senate has left town. This is a jam job for the House of Representatives. Either the House will take this or leave this. This has not been pre-baked with the House of Representatives. And we also don't know the disposition of the President of the United States. As I always say, this is about the math. This will take a robust combination of Democrats and Republicans to pass this bill. And keep in mind that yesterday there were lots of Republicans on the record saying that they wanted to fully fund DHS. They were not for this. So how this is sold to the House today, we just don't know. Guys?
Okay. How UBS facilitated Ghislaine Maxwell's hidden state purchase. Helps Maxwell buy her hideout tucked away. They don't care. They do this shit every day. People probably just as scummy or worse. In rural New Hampshire, a compound on a 156-acre estate dubbed Tucked Away became Ghislaine Maxwell's final residence before she was charged and arrested in July 2010. Behind the cash purchase of the $1.1 million home were funds sent by Swiss banking giant UBS on Maxwell's behalf a month earlier. Wow. They didn't care. They knew. Damn well they knew. But they didn't care. Okay, now we get to Ms. Harridge and the Epstein stuff. Oh, goody. All right. Oh. Yeah, we'll get back to that. That's a big deal. Big deal. Very big deal. Yikes.
This week on Straight to the Point, we dig even deeper into the Epstein files and allegations Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence operative. We sat down with Morgan Wright, a nationally recognized cybersecurity and intelligence expert who founded the National Center for Open and Unsolved Cases. From Epstein's lawyers demanding records from the CIA to Epstein's text message about a highly classified secure facility and allegations Epstein meddled in the 9/11 terrorism case to
don't forget his Austrian passport that showed travel to and from Saudi Arabia under an assumed name. Wonder how he might have gotten that.
benefit Saudi Arabia. So let's get...
Where exactly does one go to get falsified passports with entirely different names? Where do you... I don't even know where you do that. CIA? Various other intel agencies?
We asked you to review a select group of records. What was your main takeaway?
The 9/11 stuff was would be one of my high priority items. Some of the other stuff is travel. The travel thing is very interesting because it shows access, but it doesn't show contact. But considering all the countries he went to, the other question I would be asked is not, is he being controlled by CIA, but is he being controlled by a foreign intelligence service?
These emails jumped out to me because they relate to the 9/11 terrorist attacks where nearly 3,000 Americans were killed, and the ability of the families to sue Saudi Arabia. Based on the emails, it appears that Jeffrey Epstein is kind of like a go-between with the Saudis and some. Epstein is kind of like a go-between. Based on the emails.
What is this? From Epstein to Rafat al-Sabag, no idea. My idea is to have both Kathy Rumler, former White House counsel, and Ken Starr, former legal counsel of the United States, file an action asking for clarification whether JASTA is constitutionally permissible. It will tie up any litigation for 5 to 10 years. Great move.
It appears that Jeffrey Epstein is kind of like a go-between with the Saudis and some Americans to try and block the families from suing. When you saw these emails, you thought, what?
What role is he playing? Why is he playing this role? What does he get out of this by doing that? What he's blocking is the ability of people to get reparations for, as you said, 3,000 people killed. We know the history of the 19 hijackers. We don't need to litigate it again. That's well documented. How many were Saudi, and what kind of planning went on in that? So it makes you wonder, for what purposes is he engaged in this? Right? We know what it says, but if we drill down, then we need to discover what must be true to determine his role, and not just his role. Who else was involved in this from the U.S. side, the Saudi side, or in between?
So when you read the email, what you see here is Epstein is referring to what appears to be the legislation here, which would allow the families to sue Saudi Arabia. He says it's got to be translated ASAP, and that Kathy Rumler, who had been counsel for President Obama, and Ken Starr, they're going to be sort of the lead in charge of that. What does that tell you?
There's timing involved in this too, because that email was on November 27th, 2016. By that time, we knew who the next president of the United States was going to be. And I think there was a sense of urgency to get certain things done before Trump came into his first term. I don't want to say I'm confused, but I'm confused as to what their motives were in terms of doing this. Why would you work with a country to prevent United States citizens from getting reparations based on the 9/11 attacks?
Well, I have one email here, which is, it's the subject line is Ken Starr. It specifically references this legislation, JASTA, which is Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism. And I haven't been able to find emails specifically about Catherine Rumler engaging. Did you see anything related to that?
Not in the tranche of documents we looked at. You'll get a certain amount of information out. People will rush to a narrative and a conclusion before we have all the facts.
Well, you can see from the dates that they're moving very quickly. Everything's happening within.
And I think a lot of that had to happen before January 20th, 2017.
New administration.
Yes.
Trump administration.
And again, not being political, but it's kind of like Trump had a different view on some of these things than some of his predecessors did. So that's why I thought there was this sense of urgency is why get this done now. It's because we have a new president coming in.
These discussions about 9/11, do they cross a red line?
Just the mere fact that you're trying to avoid getting reparations for American families, in my opinion, just personally, absolutely.
Bizarre.
As someone who has served this country, what's your response?
I'm disgusted that an American would prevent I was in D.C. on 9/11. I walked across the bridge. I heard the plane hit the Pentagon. I don't have the stories the other people do, but I have that story, and that still affects me to today. I said, never again. And when I see people who are doing this to subvert the national security of the United States or prevent the United States from getting what's due to them, these 3,000 families are due something. That I find, just as an American, I find that offensive.
There's something called the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA. FARA was widely used against members of the Trump administration. When you look at these emails, and Jeffrey Epstein appears to be acting in the interests of the Saudi government, does that look like a FARA violation?
It certainly looks like the predicate to open up an investigation, because clearly you have a U.S. citizen advising a foreign country on things that are adversarial to the United States but complementary to that foreign country. It's not illegal to do it as long as you register, but when you're not registered and you're doing these things where the U.S. has no visibility because you're not legally registered, then it's very hard to, how do you know these conversations are going on? How do you know what's being said in the background?
Well, it's not just 9/11. When you look at these other communications,
everything.
He is interacting with foreign nationals, foreign governments. It looks to the benefit of these individuals or these governments. So I ask myself, how come Jeffrey Epstein was never investigated over FARA, at least to our knowledge, by either a Republican or a Democrat administration?
as somebody who's investigated a lot of different types of crimes, including crimes against children, it's a shame that we couldn't get the prosecutions we needed at the time we needed them. But this is what access to influence and money and power gets you. It gets you the ability to deny justice to other people. And why he wasn't investigated, that goes back to what access did they have? What access did he have? What records do they have that they could actually show that? If these were National Security Agency intercepts showing that, then the question becomes, are they allowable in court? If you're going to make a case, your evidence has to stand up to trial, right? It has to be, did you collect it lawfully and properly?
This email was sent by Ghislaine Maxwell. She was convicted of conspiring with Epstein to sexually abuse minors. She says, unfortunately, I can't be on the shadow commission. This shadow commission is a
like the 9/11 commission.
What do you make of this?
What do we need a shadow commission for? Is it because you would think that the 9/11 commission is going to find something that's detrimental to interests of a country you're dealing with, like Saudi Arabia? How far back do these relationships with Saudi Arabia go? And would it be interest to have a shadow commission to make sure that the narrative about Saudi Arabia in the final report comes out?
My experience is that when you have a shadow entity or a shadow commission, in this case, you're trying to develop evidence so that if you don't like the outcome of the real commission,
yes,
you're able to push back, you're able to punch back. Does this suggest it was about protecting Saudi Arabia?
I think that's one of the fair conclusions you could come to, because look how long the relationship with Saudi Arabia goes. That's documented between Jeffrey Epstein and intermediaries, Adnan Khashoggi. We've got arms dealing, we've got dealing with sovereign wealth. So this is a continuous pattern of access and influence that he has. And is this where it started? We don't know, because we don't have access to all the records. But when I see something like this, and of all people, what would lead you to believe that she has any credentials or qualifications or experience to sit even on a shadow commission, except for to be present in the conversations, to have access, and to be able to help control the narrative that comes out of that shadow commission?
As a seasoned federal investigator, how did you approach the Epstein files?
Well, it's really about following the documents. As they say, follow the money. It's about following the paper trail. So you start by analyzing all of the documents that are out there, start looking for things that appear to be actionable. If this is in the documents, what must be proved in order for this to be true? So then I just don't take what's written in an email, but I take that email as a starting point and say, okay, where does that lead me? So an email statement should lead me back to official documents or official records. And then that's, as you know too from all these years, that's the official source that we need to go from, not what was said, but what can be proven.
I have some text messages here from 2018, and it talks about Jeffrey Epstein going into a SCIF, which is a secure facility for classified information. What stands out to you?
Well, first of all, a SCIF, as you said, it's a secure compartmented information facility. It's not just an office. These are specially designed facilities. The table stakes for entry into a SCIF is a top secret clearance. And if you actually can come in there as a civilian, but you have to be cleared. There has to be a facility security officer that signs off on it, who sponsored you, it's in the logs, and then they have to be escorted. It's almost as close as the Secret Service protects the president. That's how close you are.
How big a deal is it that Jeffrey Epstein is texting about going into a secure facility?
It would make you think where that came from, right? Whose idea was it? But if he is in there, my question would be is, why are you letting somebody who by that time already had a criminal record, his criminal record was known, what purpose does it serve bringing him into his SCIF?
Does it look like a criminal violation?
It would depend on what happened while he was there at the SCIF. But now, should he have been brought into one? That's a different question versus could he have been brought into one? He could have been brought into one if I took all of my documents, locked everything up, properly escorted, and if he just came in to look around and somebody goes, this is what a SCIF is, that might not be a violation. But if he was in there and none of these steps had been taken, and he had, even if the appearance of having a classified document on a table and he's 5 feet away from it, that would definitely be a violation.
Criminal violation. These text messages are with Steve Bannon. What do you make of that?
I would make it that Jeffrey Epstein's network was far and wide, and that when he looked at from who he had access to both sides of the aisle and countries, and that's what makes whether his relationships with all of these different places, that's what makes it very interesting from an intelligence perspective.
I have another record here. This looks like a research document for business. It's about Palantir Technologies, and specifically what caught my attention is a reference to something called In-Q-Tel.
Yes.
What is In-Q-Tel?
One of the things the CIA realized is we need to be on the cutting edge of developing new technology, and not everything is invented in the government. A lot of things are invented in the private sector. So it's their strategic investment arm. You might consider it venture capital, but from the government side.
So when you see this record in the Epstein files about Palantir and In-Q-Tel, what stands out?
So you look at, is he talking about In-Q-Tel because he has some connection to that, or does he have connection to somebody who's related to In-Q-Tel? But then again, we go back to this confluence of events that says, why is he in this orbit? What is he doing having contact with people in the technology sector, especially in a classified? A lot of the stuff they deal with ends up being classified.
So this is a significant document.
Oh, absolutely, because you want it, again, it's one of those things, nothing here discounts. It doesn't mean he was a CIA, asset. But it does mean we have between the SCIF, between the people he moves between, and we'll talk about names later, that are all related to the intelligence community. The question is, how does a guy like this keep popping up in these circles?
I want to talk now about Jeffrey Epstein's travel.
Yes.
What is a denied area?
So if you think back, especially during the Cold War, when the CIA tried to operate in Moscow, they actually taught what they called denied area tradecraft because they were a hostile force. They were very aggressive. Your movements were tightly controlled. And so when we're into a denied area, it's very difficult for U.S. intelligence personnel and technology to work in those areas. I mean, we're highly constrained in Beijing, for example. We have no presence in North Korea.
I've got some emails here which are, there's discussion about Cuba. I couldn't see that he'd actually been to Cuba. Then there's discussion about North Korea. What stands out to you?
Just the fact that his name is being brought up in those discussions, those would be absolutely denied areas. Those are areas that if he had access to somebody in Cuba, access to somebody in North Korea, he would be of interest not just to the United States, but to a lot of countries, to where Cuba and North Korea is obviously adversarial, and you'd want to know, has he been contacted? Has he been recruited?
There was a letter that was recently written by Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace. She wants the CIA to open their books, classified information, any kind of records that connect to Jeffrey Epstein. There's something called the National Resources Division. What is the National Resources Division?
One of the things we realized is that there were a lot of people who had access to countries or places we couldn't go. But also the National Resources Division, the other thing they do is that you might be a foreign national living in the U.S. We try to recruit you before you go back to your home country. If you just came back from North Korea, I guarantee you somebody from CIA seeing a passenger manifest goes, you're somebody we would like, now this is voluntary. You don't take anybody into custody during this. These are voluntary debriefings. So you would have to agree, hey, yes, I'll tell you what I learned and tell you who I had contact with and tell you who those conversations, what we had conversations about. Now that's contact. The question is after that, did somebody become controlled? In other words, now they were tasked with, next time you go back, here's what I want you to collect. Now you're acting as an agent, not as an officer, but as an agent, for CIA, and you are now a collection resource.
When you look at the Jeffrey Epstein profile, does he fit the profile of an individual who would be valuable to the National Resources Division?
Absolutely. He had access. And the question was there contact? And then there was the control. But with all the places he went to, even going to countries to where we could travel to, Saudi Arabia, France, UK, it's not the question of his travel, but who did he have access to when he traveled there? What orbits was he in? And who else was in that orbit at the same time? There's a big confluence between technology, law, sovereign wealth, political, legal, intelligence. He operates, and so the question becomes, is it what he knew, or is it because he's intermediating between all these different domains?
Based on what you've seen, what do you think Jeffrey Epstein was? Was he connected to the CIA through this National Resources Division?
There's an old saying that says evidence of absence does not mean absence of evidence. We don't know, and they keep it classified for a reason because they don't want anybody to know who they're talking to. So unless the CIA declassifies or the president declassifies it, there's a very low chance that any of that information will come to light.
Well, in fact, I have the letter that was written by Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer to the CIA in 2011. They were seeking records about Epstein through the Freedom of Information Act, and they were denied. What do you make of this Freedom of Information Act request by Epstein?
I think they're looking for one of three things. One, to truly find, is there anything we should know about him? Because at that time, he was still alive, right? Looking at criminal culpability. The second thing you're looking for is, if I were his lawyers, I'd be looking at risk mitigation, right? I can portray him as, hey, he's working for the United States, he's on the side of the good guys. And the third thing is, it's the narrative control, is that these lawyers know going into this is that the chance of getting this is so low. They could file all they want, they're going to get denied. But without the information from CIA, you can now spin a narrative that can't be rebutted by CIA.
Jeffrey Epstein had his lawyer do something very similar with the National Security Agency.
Yes.
The National Security Agency captures electronic communication, so phone calls, text messages, emails. Do you think he was concerned that his communications were being captured overseas? An American overseas doesn't have the same protections.
Yeah, FISA Section 702 talks about the ability to, I can't target your communications in the U.S., but if you're talking to a targeted foreign national, somebody we've targeted, I can now collect that information as long as I minimize it. But that's where the other thing, too, they would be evaluating. Does he really have the access he says he does? If you were talking with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, chances are NSA would be very interested in that conversation.
Well, the response from the National Security Agency to the Freedom of Information Act request is very similar to the CIA.
Yes.
It says, I have concluded that the appropriate response is to continue to neither confirm nor deny the existence or non-existence of any intelligence material on the subjects of your client's requests. And then it goes on to say, accordingly, the existence or non-existence of any intelligence information you requested remains exempt from disclosure under laws that protect classified information.
Yep.
So what's your take on this record from the National Security Agency?
It's the same issue you had with CIA. Well, they're neither going to confirm nor deny. The reason NSA is different than CIA is about, the human contact, essentially, but NSA can do far more than CIA can. And there's a very good chance that because he was known, his circles of influence, who he had access to, and I guarantee you some of the people he talked with, it's in the public record, are people that would have been interest to the intelligence community, specifically NSA under Section 702.
So in your professional view as a seasoned investigator, you believe there was probably information intelligence about Epstein with the National Security Agency?
Considering who he met with, they would be foolish not to have that information. The difference between that and CIA is there's no evidence to show he was ever controlled by CIA. Did he have access? Yes. Was he maybe contacted? It depends. But NSA is about signals.
Final set of documents. A set of FBI 302s, these are FBI interview summaries, have just been released. They're from 2019, and they have a series of unsubstantiated allegations against President Trump. The Justice Department said they were withheld because there was a coding error. They thought they were duplicative. You're sort of making a face when I say that to you. What do you make of that?
So in 2004, I wrote the Law Enforcement Information Sharing Program concept of operations. I designed the way you share information inside the Department of Justice, all 18,000 federal, tribal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. This is antithetical not only to discovery, for example, like in a criminal case, but you need to find out what's duplicative there. You still need to produce it. Why? Because you got to make sure you don't have circular references. You have to make sure you're not relying on the same set of reporting. And the other thing, too, it depends on what they call originator control. Who originated that information? Where did it come from? We have to go back and make sure it's taken out of that initial system so it doesn't have the chance to repeat itself.
So where would that mistake be made?
It's hard to tell. It could be at an entry level. Could be something that was done at a supervisory level when somebody's reviewing the case and they go, I think it should be this instead of this, or this appears to be duplicative. But then even then, you don't delete that. You keep that. Why? Because you never know what's linked to that. And anytime you delete something, you know what a defense attorney yells? Spoliation. You're hiding the evidence. You've got something to hide. This is why you don't delete things like that. You keep them, but you know that, hey, this is duplicative. But here's the record that shows you it's duplicative. And if it's word for word, fine. But if it's not.
It just seems extraordinary that the one set of records that implicate the current president have a coding error.
I just, as a Russian spy said one time, I don't believe in coincidence.
We reached out to the Saudi embassy here in Washington, D.C. A spokesperson confirmed receipt of our questions about the kingdom's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. They did not provide an immediate response. We also reached out to Jeffrey Epstein's estate and asked if he had ever registered as an agent of a foreign government. There was no response. Ken Starr passed away in 2022. We also reached out to Catherine Rumler, and her spokesperson provided an on-the-record statement that reads in part, Ms. Rumler did not take any action in either a professional or personal capacity related to JASTA, the 9/11 families, or their ability to sue Saudi Arabia. She was never asked to take any action on this matter and never did. Asked about her upcoming deposition before the House Oversight Committee, the statement reads, Ms. Rumler welcomes the opportunity to appear before the committee. She has done nothing wrong and had no knowledge of any ongoing criminal activity on his part. This is the kind of fact-driven, independent journalism you can expect from our team. We reach out to all of the parties so your bases are covered. We'll see you next time on Straight to the Point.
Interesting. Definitely starting to fill in. Okay. Earlier this week, Supermicro co-founder, covered this a few days ago, it's a big deal, was charged with diverting billions in AI chips to China. Not only that, I think Supermicro was also mixed up in some of the other stuff too, with the it was something else with equipment. I forget what it was. It might have been the routers. I don't know. Incredibly troubling for national security and the safety of the West, you bet. I mean, Supermicro is everywhere. Every freaking where. At every small business out there runs a server using that. Co-host Savannah Guthrie will return to the show April 6th as the search for her mother continues. Oh. Still wonder about that. A little weird. Oh, whoa. Elon Musk is planning an unprecedented move for retail investors in the SpaceX IPO. They're doing a SpaceX IPO, huh? Or no, they already did that. It was back, right? Considering allocating up to 30% of SpaceX's IPO to retail investors. No, okay. Guess still coming. Far above the typical 5 to 10%. Under this plan, Elon Musk looks to tap loyal fans in the upcoming IPO, which could exceed $1.75 trillion in valuation. The plan includes a hands-on approach to banks, assigning firms specific roles rather than broad competition. Bank of America expected to lead U.S. retail distribution alongside firms like Morgan Stanley and UBS. Biggest IPO in history. Prioritizing retail? What will that mean for normies? Usual IPOs give retail just 5 to 10% of shares. Here, up to 30% could mean easier access via brokers like America for regular people to buy into SpaceX at launch. I'll do it. If I got money laying around, I'll do it. SpaceX is going places, clearly. Loyal fans might drive a big debut pop, but it's volatile. Space tech carries real risks. Short term, maybe. Long term, place to go but up. I mean, more ways than one, I guess. Huge opportunity, bigger gamble. Yeah. They're not the only one making a big IPO this year. Apparently, OpenAI. Closed AI. Yep, they are apparently lining up for an IPO. Yeah, there it is. Oh, and Anthropic too? You're shitting me. Anthropic Eye's October IPO in race with OpenAI. You gotta be freaking kidding me. Here we go. Most anticipated listings in 2026. I wouldn't be shocked if they outsize SpaceX or come close to it. Maybe not quite. Who knows? Yep, Anthropic discusses going public as soon as the fourth quarter. Wow. OpenAI. Or if Elon Musk has commented on that yet. Okay, how long did it take you to get that research? What is this? Oh, speaking of OpenAI, look at this. Did I not tag it? Oh, I did. Creepy Sam Altman of OpenAI. Coolest meeting I had this week was with Paul. I think this is this guy in Australia. I heard about the story. It's actually really interesting. Who used ChatGPT and other LLMs by himself. It basically is effectively as a layperson. I mean, he certainly wasn't capable of doing this himself. Used ChatGPT and other LLMs and associated research software that they're able to like tie in with to create an a custom mRNA vaccine protocol based on his dog's tumor. So he, from what I know of the story, he basically like biopsied his dog's tumor himself, like got a sample from it to get the the DNA profile of the tumor, and then sent that off to some company. Somehow was able to have a custom mRNA vaccine based on the tumor made, which apparently took all kinds of hoops and jumping through hoops and stuff. And then, eventually got it and started applying it to his dog, and sure enough, bye-bye tumor. I know mRNA vaccine, like, I think the tech probably viable. Is just not either A, not ready for prime time, or B, worse, it was used for nefarious purposes in the recent debacle of the last 5-6 years. This is pretty wild. To be able to do that is just like a guy, just a rando. Crazy. Oh, you even posted about how he did it? Jeez. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but raw DNA data in hand, analysis began in earnest. Gemini, Grok, and ChatGPT were all used in arriving at a data transformation protocol. Eventually found a mutation in a gene, a known driver of mast cell cancer. So how did it like do away with it? Jeez, this is quite long. I don't think I'm going to find that answer. Just scanning, but pretty weird. Pretty wild. Okay, let's see. How long did it take you to get that research? IOC president releases video statement defending new policy after transgender athletes are banned from competing in female Olympic sports. Wah, wah.
As a former athlete, I passionately believe in the rights of all Olympians to take part in fair competition. The policy that we have announced is based on science, and it has been led by medical experts with the best interests of athletes at its heart. The scientific evidence is very clear. Male chromosomes give performance advantages in sports that rely on strength, power, or endurance. At the Olympic Games, even the smallest margins can be the difference between victory and defeat. So it's absolutely clear that it would not be fair for biological males to compete in the female category.
I mean, I don't want to pick on her, but it's like...
Oh, we got another view of the transgender attorney? We got the body cam footage!
All right, we're going to pick you up.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
No, I don't. Get a female officer now. Get a female officer now. Get a female officer now. There aren't any. I can't get up. I can't see. He just threw my glasses. I can't see.
My glasses. My glasses.
Give me my glasses. Put them on my face. Put them on my face. I cannot see. Sit up. Go. Please give me my glasses. I cannot see. I'm And I'm trying to walk and I cannot see. I need my wallet.
Judge said take him to jail for contempt of court. And then the file was on.
At this time, it is the right move for me to step away. As many of you all heard, there was an incident.
You're a bearded lady.
That took place in.
You do not belong in a courtroom. You belong in a circus tent at a freak show. Or ideally in a mental hospital.
Another county, a rural county, and there are more details of that incident, and I can't release that at this time. And being as that, I believe that I first have grounds for discrimination lawsuit there in that county.
Oh boy, here it goes.
And but for my physical safety at this time, it's best that I step away. And for my family's physical safety, it's best that I step away.
Oh, it's your family. What did you have? Kids? Adopt?
And for all of you wondering if I'm moving, I'm not moving. I'm from South Texas. I can't live in one of those states like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Minnesota. I wouldn't vote for that. So I'm not going to leave the great state of Oklahoma. I will work in people are, what are you going to do now, Rob? You know, I'll let you know, but like I've told everybody, I know that I am created in his image. I know that there is a bigger plan for me. I know that I will always land on my feet. And whatever I have to do is to make ends meet and to survive out there, I will.
I am created in his image, yet somehow he got it wrong and put me in the wrong body, and I had to hack it up and inject it with drugs to make it right. Which is it?
Thank you so much. I appreciate those thoughts and prayers and good wishes and good vibes. I've got a team of wonderful doctors. You can't go through what I can, both medically and psychologically, without being medically cleared.
Yeah. I don't know whose image he's talking about. She, whatever. No clue. Eighth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled 2-1 in favor of ICE's authority to detain illegal immigrants without bond.
Now, during the ICE operations in Minnesota over the winter, federal judges repeatedly found that detainees were illegally held without being granted a bond hearing in immigration court. The judge's orders led to many of those detainees either being immediately released or allowed to post bond in immigration court, where they could fight the government's deportation efforts while free from detention. But the Trump administration appealed to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, and today a 3-judge panel of the 8th, consisting of all Republican appointees, ruled 2-1 in favor of the Trump administration, finding that the government does have the authority to detain people without bond, even if they are picked up not near a border and had already been living in the country for several years. Now, the overwhelming majority of the more than 1,000 habeas cases that we reported on, we saw in our district, hinged on this very issue. So top Trump administration officials celebrating the ruling. Here's Attorney General Pam Bondi posting on social media earlier today, quote, massive court victory against activist judges and for President Trump's law and order agenda. The 8th Circuit has held that illegal aliens can be detained without bond, following a similar ruling from the 5th Circuit last month. The law very clear, but Democrats and activist judges haven't wanted to enforce it. This administration will. Now, over to reaction from a local immigration attorney, David Wilson here. This was his case that the government appealed, where a U.S. district judge set a detained immigrant that he was representing free. Quote, the decision here, disappointing. It is hard to reconcile how over 100 judges and almost the entire federal bench agrees with our position, but the 8th Circuit now does not. There are other avenues to pursue for detainees. In this case, it's far from done. This issue is pending in courts all across the U.S., and it is destined for a date with the Supreme Court coming up this fall. Now, in a dissenting opinion, one of those appellate judges, again a 3-judge panel, wrote that 5 different presidential administrations, including the very first Trump administration, interpreted this immigration law to mean only the people detained at the border could be held without bond. But the court's ruling essentially stated that just because other administrations didn't use their authority doesn't mean the current Trump administration doesn't have the power to execute it. Paul Bloom, Fox 9.
All right, Paul, thank you.
Dems for ICE agents would terrorize and brutalize passengers at airports. Nope.
Is it not coming?
Guess not.
The Defense Department was frightened beyond belief when it heard that ICE agents were being sent to airports around the country. Common Sense was frightened because the Democrats said everyone should be frightened. Salon.com says ICE agents at airports is, quote, an impulse to bully. New York Congressman Dan Goldman says ICE would, quote, terrorize passengers. California Congressman Robert Garcia says ICE is, quote, an actively malicious force. And House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who almost never uses theatrics, said ICE would, quote, brutalize or in some instances kill passengers. Now are you afraid? Except a funny thing happened on the way through airport security. A 1-year-old boy was unresponsive for 2 minutes and was saved by an ICE agent. It was the second day in a row that ICE saved a life. Truth is, Democrats are fully aware that ICE has saved many lives by removing tens of thousands of violent criminals from U.S. cities. But saving lives is a narrative for heroes. In the liberal narrative, ICE are the villains. And when you are selling souls on sanctuary cities, you need the criminals to be the heroes. Common Sense would also note that since ICE arrived, airport security lines are shorter. But how long before Democrats say it's because ICE is killing the passengers?
Senator Marco Rubio just met with G7 leaders in France. I don't work for France or Germany or Japan. The people I'm interested in making happy are the people of the United States. I work for them. What a crowd of weirdos. Bingham colludes with CCP to rewrite history of World War II to advance Xi Jinping's New World Order. Wait, like literally those words? And they put it in quotes. Wow. Oh, wow. This is really something. The wealthy communist activist summed up the crux of his World War II argument thusly in this 174-page report. As we commemorate the 80th anniversary of the victory in the World Anti-Fascist War. That's right, he just renamed World War II to the World Anti-Fascist War. The Western powers spin their familiar tale. The U.S. industrial might and British resolve save the world from fascism. This is a lie. The truth burns in the numbers. While the Western powers calculated their economic advantage, the Soviet and Chinese peoples paid in blood. Fascism was defeated not by Anglo-American capital, but by socialist leadership and mass heroism. Brilliant strategy from Moscow and Yan'an. Unbreakable resilience from workers and peasants who refused to surrender, and a sacrifice that saved humanity from slavery. Oh boy. To back up Singham's revisionist historical efforts, which he dubbed restorationist, oh, that's cute. Oh, nice. He sought to excuse Stalin's alliance with Hitler, which carved up swaths of Eastern Europe, to claim that Hitler and Churchill were morally equivalent. Bingham ignored the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, signed August 23, 1939, non-aggression treaty between Nazi Germany and Soviet Union, that secretly divided Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. That deal facilitated the German invasion of Poland less than a month later, and a subsequent Soviet invasion of Poland on September 17th, enabling both powers to seize surrounding territory. Wow. Some in his network apparently call him comrade. I bet they do. Missouri U.S. Rep. Sam Graves to retire, igniting race for open GOP seat. Here we go. California National Air National Guard, Black Hawk helicopter crossed paths with the, United Airlines flight on Tuesday.
Potential close call between.
That was not good.
That's air
That was not good.
traffic controllers at
Oopsie.
John Wayne Airport outside Los Angeles reacting to a potential close call between a California Air National Guard Black Hawk helicopter and a United Airlines flight on final approach to land. Flight 589 with 168 aboard was coming from San Francisco Tuesday night.
We had a resolution advisory for United 589. Sorry.
The apparent close call comes after the FAA tightened rules for helicopters operating around airports just last week, and in the wake of last year's deadly mid-air collision between a Black Hawk helicopter and a regional jet. And just like that incident, Tuesday's close call involved a Black Hawk conducting a routine nighttime training mission. But this time, controllers and the pilots were tracking the chopper when the 737's collision avoidance system alerted, telling the pilots to stop their descent and level off.
Nice.
Preliminary flight data has the two aircraft about 525 feet apart vertically and approximately 1,400 feet laterally, a little over a quarter of a mile at their closest point.
This is closer than we would like for airplanes and helicopters to be. However, it does show that the system worked as intended.
Indeed, that's good.
In
That's
light
cool.
of the fact that something was not right.
At least there's that. Oh, Shirley spoke at CPAC. Good for him. Good for you, young man.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm super excited to be here and to be able to speak to you guys today. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of Republicans nor Democrats. I'm here to speak on behalf of we the people. I think nowadays we can all agree that we all just want to live the American dream and have the best life possible. However, it feels that sometimes, actually a lot of times, non-controversial issues are becoming controversial inside of America. For instance, if you take a look at the idea of deporting illegal migrants, that word is illegal. That should not be controversial. Or the idea that showing your ID to vote has become controversial. That's not controversial either. The idea that fraud is bad has become controversial. How is that controversial? I know a little bit about fraud. I know a little bit about Minnesota daycares as well.
We know a little bit about leering, too.
And it's crazy to think that we live in a world where somebody who exposes fraud can then be painted as the bad man from the politicians where he exposed the fraud. Shouldn't they be excited?
I love how simple and honest he is.
To know that the fraud is.
There's nothing complex to him. He's just a simple, nice young man. Good kid.
Being exposed because that's not a Republican dollar or a Democrat dollar. It's actually our dollars. I've never gotten a dollar bill that says right or red or blue or right or left. We all live inside of the same country, and we should all want the best for our country. And when you see fraud inside of our country taking place at literally rampant levels, for instance, in Minnesota, there were programs like autism where you have 10,000% increases in the budget for autism, and this money then goes into the hands of fraudsters. How does somebody not look at that and say, there's a 10,000% increase in the budget for autism? Is there a 10,000% increase in autistic children inside of our neighborhoods? And if the answer is no, how are they justifying a 10,000% increase in the budget? And in other instances, like California, where you have 1,000% increase in hospices, is everyone going to die in LA? I don't think so. So the idea that here inside the United States, when we have these non-controversial issues that have become controversial, it puts us into a weird culture war where it puts people into a position to think, okay, well, wait, how are you supporting this when you're not
Trying to like adjust audio settings here. I don't know why it's screwing up like that.
actually not benefiting we the people? We all live inside of the United States. We're not supposed to be, when elected officials elected, they're not supposed to represent 50% of the population. They're supposed to represent 100% of the population. In an instance where fraud is taking place inside our country, each and every single person should want to crack down on that fraud. Because if we don't, these people can continue just to literally steal our dollars and
steal our dollars. I just adore this kid.
They steal our dollars and then they send it overseas. And once
I
it's
love
overseas,
him.
we can't
He's just, there's something about him.
never get that money back. And that's something that I've learned as I've gone about exposing this fraud. And a lot of times these people that are taking our tax dollars are foreigners who are not even from the United States of America, and they're stealing our money. And it's just been so crazy to see how in all 50 states there is fraud. However, it seems to be that most of the fraud is in a lot of these blue cities. And when you go out and expose the fraud, I mean, I think Gavin Newsom, he posted a photo of me the other day and had 10 cameras on me, an AI-generated image saying, "Where are the kids?" trying to depict me as a pervert for exposing fraud. How sick does a governor have to be to say that the kid exposing the fraud is the bad person versus the fraudsters that are stealing the money? And going through this experience of exposing this fraud, I finally came to understand why, for instance, why they attack Elon Musk so hard, why they burn down his factories, or why they burn down his cars, or why they attack him so much when he was simply exposing fraud to help every single citizen. Well, it just happens to be that these politicians don't want the fraud to be exposed because they're involved in the fraud. And nowadays, since I've posted that video, my life has changed. It changed a little bit. I'm speaking here in front of all you guys, so thank you. But my life changed a little bit because the idea that a governor, for instance, Gavin Newsom, can go ahead and post that photo, and everyone knows that I'm not the bad man for exposing the fraud, but a small group will then think, wow, that kid is a bad person. He is what they're trying to depict me to be. That now I have to walk around with security when I go to cities, or people will try to literally. Last time I was in California, I was just there the other day, I couldn't stay at a hotel because last time I was in California, after I posted that fraud video, somebody tried to take a photo and put it into a Reddit group chat, and a group of people were looking for me because I exposed the fraud. Like that's crazy to think that we live in a society nowadays where somebody going to do a big public service for the country has to worry for their life. And it actually makes me a bit upset because how have we gotten to that point where we've lost common sense and where non-controversial issues have become controversial? And it's actually very worrisome. And a lot of people come up to me and say, well, Nick, how can we help? Or how do we do what you did inside our own communities? Or how do you have like the courage to go out and do this? And I've really fallen in love with the quote or the speech from Theodore Roosevelt that's called "The Man in the Arena," and it talks about critics, and it talks about how like you don't ever worry what a critic does as long as you know you're fighting for a worthy cause, and it doesn't matter if you fail as long as you're working for a worthy cause. But who's to say that you're not the one risking everything, standing there all alone, going about it? And why should you worry about the critics? And why should you worry about the naysayers, or why should you worry about the opposition when you're fighting for a worthy cause? We all are fighting for a worthy cause inside of our communities, with our families, in our churches, at our schools, because a lot of things that we're fighting against are non-controversial issues that have become controversial. No girl should ever have to worry about a man playing on their sports team. Like, the idea that that's become controversial is insane. And it takes men and women who are ready to become that man in the arena to be able to confront the opposition, confront those critics. Because if no one does, they will win. And when we're fighting for common sense issues that aren't controversial, but nowadays have become controversial, each one of us have to step up and become that person who steps in the arena and says, I don't care what they say, or I don't care what he or she says, I'm going to do it because it's a worthy cause. And if we don't, because if you don't, the critics will win. And their voices are a lot louder. That's how they try to intimidate you. Imagine if I would have been intimidated by Governor Walz calling me a delusional conspiracy theorist, a far-right white supremacist, or all the other things that those politicians called me. In fact, they even incited riots inside their cities for somebody who exposed fraud. Meanwhile, the Leering Center, it wasn't much to hide. Like, that fraud was very obvious. In fact, the Leering Center then even closed down. They fled the city because they know they're committing fraud. And one thing for you guys to think about is, who are the critics? Who are those people that are saying that you're the bad person, or that what you're doing is not right? Well, a lot of times it's the media. A lot of the times it's that person who listens to the media where they've lost that idea of common sense thinking. And so nowadays, the most important thing I feel like for any of us to do is to think, okay, is the cause I'm fighting for, is it a controversial issue? Or is it actually non-controversial, but it's an issue that has become controversial from the critics? And we cannot ever pander to the critics, and we have to keep pursuing a worthy cause. Because what we're fighting for is worthy. America is the greatest country in the world. And people like to act like it's not, but meanwhile, all the other countries had thousands of years to do it. We had 250 years to do it. And whatever made us the greatest country in those 250 years, we need to make sure that it remains that same way, or else we will fall and the critics will win, and we will not stay the greatest country in the world. And so that's my message for you guys today, is to think, really, okay, what cause are we fighting for? Is it a worthy cause? Is it something that's actually not controversial, but maybe the mainstream media or a critic has told me that that's a controversial issue? And when you know it's not, fight and be ready to become the man or the woman in the arena, because if you don't, the critics will win. And this is the greatest country in the world for a reason. We did it in 250 years. Everyone else had thousands of years to do it, and we did that. And so I'm proud to be here today, and I know you guys are all ready to become that man or that woman in the arena, because it is a worthy cause that we are fighting for. Thank you.
He's adorable, man. Cracks me up. Good kid. Tim Burchett pummels leaders Jimmy Kimmel. What's that moron up to? Mocking Mark Wayne Mullen for previously being a plumber. Oh, that'll play well, Kimmel. Yeah, keep that shit up, buddy.
Hey everybody, Tim Burchett. I don't know if y'all saw it or not, but Jimmy Kimmel took a shot at Mark Wayne Mullen because he's a plumber. Well, the truth is he left school because his daddy got sick to run that business. And he took it upon himself to make fun of Mark Wayne for that. And to me, that shows the complete irony and the double standard of a lot of the Democrats and the leftists in this country.
Disgusting.
They claim to be the working man's friend, but yet at first opportunity they make fun of one that's achieved some incredible success in this world. You know, Jimmy, you're the type of guy that's going to throw a rock over a fence and run home and hide behind your mama's skirt. And that's exactly what you're doing. You hide around, you say those things so you can run your little circle of influence, and you know, and you're a guy that got his start on a TV show that showed a bunch of young girls jumping up and down on trampolines of all things.
Yep. On Monday, federal agents detained an individual outside of Maine Immigrant and Refugee Services in Lewiston. To understand why this is so interesting, we've connected the dots from the last several months of federal enforcement act. What? By me intrigued. Let's hear it.
Thursday afternoon, 210 Blake Street in Lewiston, Maine. When President Donald Trump delivered his State of the Union address recently, he specifically talked about fraud and put Vice President J.D. Vance in charge of fraud investigations.
Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And California, Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse.
President Trump specifically called out Maine, and he was talking about Lewiston, Maine. As Lewiston, Maine has become the hotbed for federal and state investigations of fraud. Within just a 1 mile radius of here, you have fraud scandals going on. The Maine Wire was on scene back in December when federal agents descended upon Gateway Community Services in an attempt to issue a warrant for a federal raid of there because they are in front of the House Oversight Committee for fraud allegations. They promptly left Gateway Community Services and came here to 210 Blake Street. We didn't know at the time why they came here, but they definitely came here with all of their agents and were surveying the property. Earlier this month, on 95 Park Street, not a far walk from here, federal agents descended upon Bright Futures Healthier You, who has been rumored to be involved in a Medicaid scandal going on there with overbilling. Dr. Oz has come out and said that there's 100% billing rates with autism billing here in the state as well, and some organizations even here in Lewiston.
Reviewed paperwork that was missing crucial information, like whether the kids receiving these services had been properly diagnosed with autism in the first place. 100% of the claims they examined had problems. And most troubling of all, they discovered that Maine had never conducted a statewide review of its autism program.
Now, 210 Blake Street, a lot of stuff going on here. Federal agents came here in December. Iman Osman, who was on the school committee and was a city councilor for about 48 hours when he resigned because he was brought up on gun charges, stolen gun charges, used this address when he ran for office. But this address is the condemned address. This is not zoned for residential. It's not, nobody can live here. It's an inhabitable building because it's been condemned. There was a federal drug bust here in 2024. So a lot of controversy with this address. Iman Osman even lied on his bail bond from his court hearing and said that he lived here at 210 Blake Street, but you can't live here because it's condemned. His brother owns the building. His brother is Relon Osman, who owns Mears, which is just a very short walk down the street from here. Now, why is that important? Because on Monday morning, about 9:35 on Monday, federal agents detained an individual in Mears parking lot. It was rumored that it could be a member of the Osman family. We have not been able to confirm the exact identity. We've talked to Homeland Security, we've talked to ICE, we've talked to federal agents, we've talked to the Lewiston Police Department, we've talked to the Agosconda Sheriff's Department. He's not in Lewiston lockup, he's not in Agosconda lockup, but we haven't been able to confirm who is locked up. We've got sources, we're working those sources, we're working them very hard. So here's the question. What were they looking for on Monday at Mears? Were they there for Mears because Mears has been caught to be found guilty of overbilling Maine Care by over $2 million? Were they there to follow up on Iman Osman's gun charges? Were they there to follow up on other fraud allegations? Or were they there for something much more sinister? We don't know at this point. We're working the story very hard, but here's what we do know. You're not going to hear about this in any other media. You're not going to hear this about from the legacy media. You're not going to hear it from the taxpayer-funded newspapers. You're only going to hear it from the Maine Wire, and you're only going to get the truth of the Maine Wire. So check back with the Maine Wire for more details. I'm John Featherston.
Okay. Minnesota Elections Office subpoenaed over whether non-citizens are on what? State voter rolls? State voter rolls.
A new at 4, a major escalation in the federal government's voter fraud fight. A court order telling Minnesota to turn over records of people that they think are non-citizens who voted illegally. Esme Murphy joins us now from the newsroom. Esme, what's going on?
Well, Amelia and Aaron, I can tell you this is a criminal investigation stemming from the larger effort by the Trump administration to subpoena Minnesota and 28 other states' voter records. Sources tell CBS News this particular subpoena includes the names of more than 125 people who have allegedly voted illegally here. Minnesota's Secretary of State, Steve Simon, has refused to turn over voter records. He says they include personal voter information and that the U.S. Constitution specifically delegates the administration of elections to the states. And in an interview just last week, Secretary Simon pointed to a recent St. Thomas study. It found that between 2015 and 2024, out of 13.4 million votes cast in Minnesota, 3 non-citizens voted.
In that 10 years, 13.4 million ballots, he found definitive proof of three non-citizens who had voted. Now, that's 3 too many. We want it to be 0. I do, and everyone watching does. But that is really, really good. 3 out of 13.4 million, that means it's really microscopic.
Now, a study by the conservative-leaning Heritage Foundation found there have been more cases of U.S. citizens voting illegally in Minnesota after being convicted of a crime and not getting their rights restored. The total number of these cases is 138, and all allegedly took place between 2004 and 2022. We reached out to Secretary Simon's office and have not heard back. Aaron?
Okay, Esme, thank you so much. Well,
Now, Fani Willis lied to the courts and the people about her Get Trump conspiracy, of course. We all know. We all know that.
We've got a battle that is ongoing against Fani Willis. We had asked for records or sued for records because we got the runaround in Fulton County. On her collusion that we saw was happening, it looked like, with the Pelosi gang at the January 6th committee and Jack Smith and the Garland Justice Department on her targeting and prosecutions of Donald Trump and what I believe to be other innocent Americans. And her office first told us that they had no records, and it turned out it was a lie. And as a result, she had to pay us money thanks to a court order. Long story short, they found 212 pages of records that were responsive. Since then, the prosecution, Willis was removed due to her corruption, and then the Georgia official who next had the case dismissed it. He dismissed it. So the case is over. So there's a good argument there's no reason to hide the records anymore, because the privilege issue essentially has been mooted out by the fact the case has been dropped. Incredibly, Fani Willis is still trying to hide the records from us. We argue that the pages of the still secret records, the 212 pages, should now be released, as the controversial criminal case against Trump and others has been dismissed, and Williams' claims of privileges are without merit.
Well, they euthanized her. Wow. Spain. Okay. Undersecretary of War Anthony J. Tata. Proud to welcome back another brave soldier who was involuntarily separated in June 2022 for his refusal to take the jab. Way to go, buddy. Oh, man. Said SBC Wade, if you have the grit, no matter how hard things get, if you keep going, you can accomplish your goals. Attaboy. Marco Rubio, today at the G7, I reiterated that President Trump is committed to reaching a ceasefire and negotiated settlement to the Russia-Ukraine war as soon as possible. Be nice. A lot of dead. E.G. Bondi on Fox and whatever the heck. Fox and Friends? Remember these. Says the DOJ is working quickly to revoke the U.S. citizenship of criminals in the country. Good. Chop chop. Then arrest people. You can do that.
And are there more of these people that were naturalized citizens that are going to be denaturalized?
There are. There are a lot of them. And just to put it in perspective, under the 4 years when President Biden was in office, he moved to denaturalize 24 people. 4 years. Under President Trump, already 22 within a year. And these are bad people. They were sent to prison under Trump 45. Bad people, arms smuggling, millions of dollars of healthcare fraud. We're looking at another one right now. We're going after them constantly. Then, under Joe Biden, they get out, they serve their sentences. He lets these criminals, he let them stay in our country. No longer under Donald Trump. We're going to have a safe country. We're going to have an honest country. And we're moving to denaturalize them as fast as we can and get them out of our country.
83-year-old veteran and cancer survivor dies after being shoved onto New York City subway tracks by an illegal. 34-year-old assailant is Byron Hernandez from Honduras. He'd previously been deported 4 times. 4 fucking times. And had 15 previous criminal charges. Victim Richard Williams was just waiting for the subway March 8th when he was kicked from the side by Hernandez, banged his head on the tracks. Gone.
This sweet man, all he was trying to do is ride the subway, something that so many New Yorkers do on a daily basis, shoved onto the subway tracks for no reason. A veteran, a cancer survivor, you survive all of that to be murdered by an illegal alien who shouldn't be into the United States. And this is what drives me nuts. 15 prior charges, you guys. Simple assault, domestic violence, obstruction of police, possession of a weapon, drug possession, and aggravated assault. I am all for redemption, but someone like this should not be
No, they need to go
on the streets. He's
Goodbye.
also been deported 4 different times, most recently in 2020. Why was he in the United States, Brian?
Well, we know why he was in a sanctuary city, because they don't enforce and they think ICE is the problem, not Baron Hernandez. The 83-year-old on March 8th was just waiting for the subway. The guy hits him from the side and throws him. He bangs his head right on the tracks. They were able to get the 83-year-old out, Air Force veteran, but he was unable to survive, so he passes away.
Wow. Chinese nationals face fentanyl precursor charges. 3 others charged with trying to smuggle AI tech to China. That includes Supermicro guy?
Welcome back to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. A fentanyl-related indictment involving China. 6 Chinese citizens and 2 China-based pharmaceutical companies have been indicted for allegedly selling chemical precursors used to make fentanyl. FBI Director Kash Patel announced the indictments on X. In a post on the social media platform, Patel added that the group had also formed an alliance with a Mexican drug cartel. The FBI director called the indictments historic. According to Patel, the investigation involved cooperation with Chinese authorities following an FBI trip to China in November. Tens of thousands of Americans die from fentanyl overdoses each year. Another major indictment involving China. 3 people, including a Chinese national and 2 Americans, have been charged with trying to smuggle AI chips into China through Thailand. Federal prosecutors say the trio attempted to buy millions of dollars worth of export-controlled computer chips.
What were they selling here? Doing well. Currently working on distributing GPU systems with... And that's interesting. That's redacted. Chips for supercomputing needs for AI, cloud, bit mining, etc. We're working in LATAM and APAC right now, but looking to expand into Europe. We also have a few customers in China, but it's a banned country for distribution. Lucrative business right now. Millions of dollars in profits per order. What the fuck? That is insane. So we are looking for partners. One, you can find customers that need GPUs for their supercomputer solutions, or something they act, or 2, they act as a pass-through party for customers in China. Bingo. Comes right out and says it. Let me know if you are interested in discussing.
Worth of export-controlled computer chips without the...
Do not mention anything about China. Please drop those lines. We also have a few customers in China, but it's a banned country for distribution. Oopsie.
Proper licenses. The defendants allegedly began conspiring in May 2023 using Thailand-based companies as cover to get the chips to China. Authorities warn that illegally exporting advanced computing technology is a direct threat to U.S.
So dangerous right now.
National security.
Like,
leaders in Washington and
a massive national security threat. It's fucking huge.
Silicon Valley are sounding the alarm on artificial intelligence, calling it a race the U.S. can't afford to lose. At a major summit Tuesday, both sides agreed the biggest concern isn't just innovation, it's China. Tech executives and lawmakers came together at the Hill and Valley Forum to address how AI is now a high-stakes global competition. Despite past clashes over regulation, both sides are largely on the same page. The U.S. needs to stay ahead. Lawmakers warned this goes beyond business or technology. They framed it as a broader fight over economic power and national security, with China at the center of the concern. But underneath that agreement, there's tension. Some in Washington are questioning whether American companies should be selling advanced technology to Beijing. That concern comes after reports of high-end NVIDIA chips being exported and even smuggled into China through back channels. House Speaker Mike Johnson
big money
urging tech leaders to keep critical infrastructure, data, and innovation here at home. Industry leaders echoed that urgency, with some saying they won't invest in technologies that could benefit competing nations. And others warn that if Washington and Silicon Valley don't get aligned soon, the U.S. could risk falling behind.
Yep. Good piece there. President George W. Bush and Laura Bush welcomed Ukrainian First Lady Olena Zelenska to the Bush Center. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We admire your country's bravery and ingenuity, said President George W. Bush. We want the people of Ukraine to know that we continue to stand with America's ally, Ukraine. You are fighting for freedom, and I believe you will prevail. We've been informed by a churchgoer at City's Church in St. Paul, the one that was previously stormed by agitators, that the church and parishioners are still being harassed by 50501 anti-ICE agitators every Sunday during services at 8:30 and 10:30. City's Church apparently still has anti-ICE protesters, and they block the sidewalk and are cussing us out as we walk into church. We can hear it during and after the service. We are followed, and now they have high-res cameras. They're taking pictures of us walking into church and are and are threatening to follow us, take pics of our plates, and publish photos of our faces. I just want the freedom to worship without I think they butchered that somehow, and not be hounded or harassed. Please say what they are doing isn't illegal so they can do it. And Paul. Oh, AG Bundy confirms that the DOJ has secured declassified House transcripts regarding former CIA Director John Brennan. You watch. It's coming. It's coming. I know there's a lot of shit talk out there, but you wait.
Is it true that John Brennan is under investigation from the Department of Justice? Sources are telling us that that the transcript from the House interview with Brennan have been requested from the Department of Justice.
So, Lawrence, I can't talk about whether we do or do not have a pending case nor a pending grand jury.
They do.
What I can say is public is that we have received transcripts from the House. Those had to be declassified, and we are awaiting transcripts from the United States Senate. The last thing I'll say on that is no one in this country is above the law.
Right.
Well, we've been told that.
It's coming, dude. Only a matter of time. A Russian man has been jailed in the UK for 4 years after Baron Trump swooped in and saved a woman from being beaten. Oh yeah, this is wild. Baron was on the phone with her, realized there was trouble, and sprung into action. She said, "He helped save my life. That call was like a sign from God at that moment." Matvey Rumyantsev was reportedly jealous that the woman was friends with Baron. Baron said on the phone, "I'm calling from the US. I just got a call from a girl. She's getting beaten up. This is happening about 8 minutes ago. I just figured out how to call someone. It's really an emergency." Wow, he figured out how to call police overseas. Had to figure out how to make an international call to police. That's wow. That probably doesn't happen too often. Can you imagine being the person receiving that call, by the way? Like, can you imagine? That would be freaking weird. Taking a police report on the phone over in London or wherever in the UK from Baron frickin' Trump reporting a sexual assault halfway around the world? Like, what? Or, you know, whatever, sexual or otherwise. I don't know if he went that far, but crazy story. Helicopter crashes off Hawaii coast, leaving multiple dead and injured. Yikes. Crashed into the ocean off the coast of Hawaii, leaving at least 3 dead and 2 others injured. Jesus. Okay. I was like, how is that thing still running? There's another chopper. Or 2. Or 3. FCC proposes call center onshoring and English proficiency requirements. Yes, sir. Yup. Big business opportunity right here. American consumers deserve call centers that speak proficient English, provide clear answers, and are based here at home. Chairman Brendan Carr, FCC. Oh, that would be wonderful. Wonderful. Charged with being a narco-terrorist, and his wife is just as bad, if not worse. Maduro.
Arms dealers, drug dealers. You got Maduro.
Yes.
He's asking the judge for everything in this case. It looks like one of those motions were rejected. He wants Venezuela to fund this, but he also wanted the charges to be dropped. That's cocaine importation, conspiracy, possession of a machine guns, destructive devices, conspiracy on machines, and narco-terrorism. What's your reaction?
So, pending case, so I can't say a lot about it. What I can say, of course, is he is charged with being a narco-terrorist, and his wife is just as bad, if not worse. Remember, she was Hugo Chavez's lawyer. Maduro was his bus driver. They're horrible. I feel they're convicted of, should be convicted of many crimes involving drugs, guns, and I can say New York is not the only jurisdiction that we're looking at.
Are you looking for other Venezuelan officials? Because you've indicted more of them even before you guys got there, including the defense minister who was just dismissed. Are you going to go grab some more?
Yeah, Brian, I can't talk about that, but yes, we have many unindicted co-conspirators, not only in New York, but we're looking at other jurisdictions as well. But I can't discuss Cuba either. But you know, President Trump is looking at all this. This is about keeping our world safe, and that's what he is committed to doing.
All right. Sorry, butt typing. Gavin Newsom explains on the Axios show that he reached out to Barack Obama for advice on California redistricting. Nervous he'd disapprove based on when they go low, we go high. He never meant that, you idiot. Come on.
We go high. I When they go low, we go high. I was expecting that. And he cut right. I didn't even get into the conversation. And he says, I just want to let you know, I like what you're saying, all this, and I hope you do this.
Oh, so yeah, in other words, behind the door, it's out the window.
We go high. I went into the conversation, and he says, I just want to let you know, I like what
I stayed in touch.
Yeah, I saw him at Jesse Jackson's memorial just a few weeks ago, and I've had the privilege of being a number of phone calls and conversations with him. And he's.
What do you talk about?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll be candid with you. And full disclosure, I'll say it publicly. I remember calling him very nervous when I was seeking his advice. It wasn't even approval or support. It was just advice.
Last summer.
Yeah, on Prop 50. Because, when they go low, we go high. I was expecting that. And he cut right. I didn't even get into the conversation. And he says, I just want to let you know, I like what you're saying, all this, and I hope you do this. And it would just sort of moved us into a different gear in terms of the relationship. And he
fangirl
really supported that campaign, did a bunch of Zoom calls with us, and campaigned for it, and was extraordinary. And he gave us the cover and the moral authority, despite, all of his work that he did around independent redistricting, which we all
independent redistricting. That's cute.
Promote and believe in. By the way, the voters of California do as well, because I'll remind you in Prop 50,
when the enemy does it, it's gerrymandering. When we do it, it's independent redistricting.
Was fighting fire with fire, respectfully.
Oh.
We need to fight fire with fire. It was about substance, not style, because we actually successfully shifted 5 seats, we believe, into the blue column. But it also affirmed, from a national prism, the people of the state of California calling for a national independent redistricting commission, which we must do to get away from the politics of gerrymandering. But we also have to save this country from the recklessness and the wrecking ball that is the Trump presidency, who's trying to rig the election before one vote is cast this November, and is just winding up in a dozen other efforts, literally a dozen other strategies to try to rig the 2026 election. That's how serious this moment is.
What the creepy freaking heck? What? No.
Here we're making robots that are made of...
Oh, God, it just looks like it needs help.
Here we're making robots that are made of robots, which is why I call them meta machines.
This sounds really interesting, though.
So these robots are made out of modular...
Whoa, it has 4 now.
Parts that are themselves robots. And this means that if one part of the body is damaged or lost to injury, the rest of the body is fine. It survives. It continues to function. So we really wanted to create robots that were more resilient.
That's gonna move really quickly, very, very quickly, into robots that can reassemble themselves. And it's brilliant. That's amazing.
And that could evolve. We evolve these robots to move themselves through the world with a little bit of athleticism. So more athletic than any other modular robot has been on land, more athletic than any other evolved robot has been.
I mean, it looks completely retarded right now, but just watch. I mean, after that kind of evolves into more intricate machinery, gets smaller, more specialized. It'll turn really quickly to robots that can lose a limb, like they display it, like they demonstrated, and then just go pick up a new modular part from the parts bin and just plug it in. Keep right on going.
Through the world with a little bit of athleticism.
That's amazing. Trump effect. Apple expands American manufacturing program with 4 partners. Who dis? Yeah, if those things ever turn against us, you better smash that freaking thing into a billion pieces and then burn them all and then melt the remains. Yeah. So on and so forth. Okay, Apple expands American manufacturing program with 4 partners. Who? We'll invest $400 million through 2030 in new programs with Bosch, Cirrus Logic, TDK, and Qnity Electronics, manufacture essential materials and components in the United States. This must be part of their effort to start making more iPhone parts in the U.S. That'd be it. That's good. It's a good move. Yep. Fine. Okay. Oh, what? Really? Sharpie found a way to make pens more cheaply by manufacturing them in the United States. Newell Brands moved production without cutting their employee count or raising prices. Not bad. And they did it, how, you ask? Investing in robots. This is where I think it's going to go, man. I was really kind of like, in the beginning, obviously, as a lot of people were pretty freaked out. But the further I kind of get into investigating this and immersing myself in new tech here, I think that's where it's going to go. I really hope so. I think it's just going to, I mean, sure, there's going to be people that lose jobs, at least on a short-term basis, but I think it's just going to make it so, it's going to make people so effective and productive. It's just going to like, it's going to create a massive amount of wealth. And rather than robots replacing an AI, replacing people, it's just going to make them able to do more and do it more cheaply, more affordably. That's the direction all the big tech wee-woo heads want it to go. I really hope that's where it does go. That this would seem to be an indication that they might be right. That's fascinating, man. So they invested in robots, and workforce training led to average wage increases of 50% with no headcount reduction, while also increasing production speed by 3 to 4 times, boosting quality and not raising prices, and apparently doing it in the U.S. It's amazing. And I hope that carries through to other industries. I bet it will. Maybe not all of them. I'm sure there's going to be some strife in certain fields, but I think this is probably going to be, hopefully, the way things go for the most part. Let's hope that's the case. House Oversight Committee. Democrats say they're seeking to track down hard drives allegedly removed from Jeffrey Epstein's home by private investigators 20 years ago. Yeah, those hard drives, the ones that they, found and then they went back for them and they were gone. Oops. How'd that happen? Yep. Wonder how they might be able to track that down 20 freaking years later. Insanity. All right, well, we're almost at the top here. We'll finish it out. More than 3,100 No Kings demonstrations, about as many events as there are counties in the U.S., are expected in all 50 states, including in the Alaskan cities inside the Arctic Circle, fueled by a suburban groundswell of support. So watch out here tomorrow. It's the 28th, right? Group of Jeffrey Epstein survivors has filed a class action lawsuit against the Department of Justice and Google over the release of victim identifying information in files related to the late convicted sex offender. Interesting. Might have something to do with those files they were yanking. All right. Well, that's it. That's it for me.
Howdy, howdy.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing wonderful.
Happy Friday.
Indeedy. Not my hair off here. There we go. Cool. Yes. Yes. Happy Friday indeed.
Yes, I love Fridays.
I know. It's nice. It's beautiful out too. It's gorgeous up here on the valley.
Okay,
Oh no,
it's
never mind. I take that
rainy
back.
and
It was
cold.
gorgeous. Now raining. Oh. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh, okay. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
I'm gonna tell you. My kids are very sick, which really bums me out.
Oh.
But they're having a go. It's going from 70 to 30, 70 to 30, and I'm like, they're trying to get people sick, and they, they've been successful, little buttheads.
Aw.
I can't stand
that's
it.
cute. Aw.
My baby.
Yeah.
Okay, listen, I don't know what you do when you go off of here, but today I'm going to, my show that I do, Foxhole Squares, which is grown up tic-tac-toe where you can learn
I remember.
things
Yeah, I
too.
was on it once, a long time ago.
You were?
I remember, right?
You
Yeah,
were not on it.
What
You were
the-
not on my
or
game
no,
show.
was I
No.
supposed to be, and then I couldn't make it or
I've
something?
been begging you.
Huh?
I begged and pleaded, and you never saw my thingy. But that's
Well,
okay, because
you let me know and I'll do it.
understand.
Yeah, hit me up.
Well, we're going to show an episode of it today.
Oh, cool.
So that people understand what it is. And listen, there's so much politics going on right now, which I love politics, and we're really in our glory. But we have to have fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So we are going to have fun. Everything is just so everybody is aware so they don't freak out. My jib jabs, everything is licensed properly. So if anything, I don't think anything would happen because it's all licensed, but just so you know, my little jib jabs and stuff, we are covered. We're legal. We're legal over here. Sweet. So I hope you check it out.
Yeah, well, yep.
Okay.
You're going to be playing it here next 2 hours?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, probably an hour and a half, and then after that, we'll be a little funny, and we'll do how to paint like a feminist.
Cool.
Well, how to paint like an Iran war. That's actually what we're doing. How
That's
to paint
great.
like an Iran war. So that's after. Because we have to have a little bit of fun in the midst of all this.
Yeah, yep. Crazy
So-
world. I know.
It is crazy, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
enjoying the
I can't-
ride lately, I got to say.
It is. It's getting even juicier.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
so
gonna
we're
be a big
very...
year, so.
Yeah, huge year. Well, it's really the year of, what is the proper word? But letting everybody see the show, everything being shown, piece by piece.
FAFO? You're
You know.
FAFO?
Yeah, that works too.
Good like that.
I like that. Okay.
Well, I'll let you get to
All
it.
right.
Yeah. You have a good show.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, I will. See you later.
See you later. Hello, everybody. What's up?
All right, guys. I'm out. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern time. See you then. Bye-bye.